The topic of the discussion this week, well, doing it a little bit differently from what we've done in the past. We're going to do our little typical normal segment, but also we've got Q&A today.
Awesome.
So today's about testing yourself. We put it up on Monday morning on the Beowulf Pack, if you haven't seen already. Just our little placard that goes up. Test yourself with the struggle of a session, test yourself by not taking the shortcut, test yourself to see where you stand. So let's break that down into each kind of category. Test yourself with the struggle of test yourself with the struggle of a session. What do you think we mean by that, Scott?
So make sure that the session is giving you an appropriate challenge throughout. So a challenge for you to kind of adapt from. I suppose in previous podcasts we've always said kind of from a lot of people the challenge is simply turning up. So what have you written in the diary, turn up and do it, even if you don't feel like you want to. I suppose they're the way that I would perceive that. How would you perceive it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you've kind of said there. You look at it in two ways. It's like test yourself with the struggle of a session. That's doing a session regardless, like you say, like actually just doing a session is a struggle, or at least
sometimes it can feel that way,
or fitting it into your schedule. And like you say, also making sure it's difficult, or at least it's putting you in an uncomfortable position that's going to help you grow and progress.
Yeah, you don't want to feel like you're absolutely getting smashed by every single element of your session. You want to feel like there's definitely waves of intensity, or definitely waves of a challenge or difficulty throughout that session.
Yeah, so your goal is
warm up to absolutely smash you and you're like, oh my god.
and at the same time, it's kind of a weird dichotomy because you don't want to sandbag it, do you? Like, you can get a really tough workout and go through it at a snail's pace for you and make it easy and just kind of bypass the product. I guess a lot of it is just knowing yourself a little bit. It takes a while to get into that rhythm, but just doing it. Be Nike, just do it. What about test yourself by not taking the shortcut?
Yeah, so I like that one because it's quite often like, you know, I believe if you're going to do something, you should do it properly. Like, do it to the very best of your ability. That comes down to if you're performing a movement. So, like, imagine you're doing a press up, so a very well-known bodyweight movement. So often you see people that they're cutting reps by going to a partial range of motion. So, like, if you're going to do it properly, or don't do it at all.
Yeah. Because it's better, right?
Yeah, you're going to reap better benefits of it, and it's just upholding like I like standards. I like, you know, a press up is start at the top, chest touch the ground, finish at the top, or maintaining a stable midline. Like, if you do something that's away from those parameters, you've done something that closely mimics a press up, but you haven't done a press up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so just making sure that you're upholding that standard, you're upholding that.
And it gets very hard to progress from that, right? If you say you do as many press-ups as you can and you allow those kind of half reps in, you're just setting yourself a harder target to achieve when you then, if you were to do them correctly, and it's inconsistent. Like, you've changed one of the variables, haven't you?
I think the other thing as well is, like, you know, a lot of the time the way that we teach is it's very a progressive approach. So a press-up is, like, for some people can be quite a difficult exercise, but in the scheme of all of the movements that we teach, is one of our basic movements. So if you're not getting that movement, if you're not performing it to a good enough standard with a full range of motion, with appropriate control of the shoulder, maintaining decent midline position, you're not going to be able to then go and do a press up on rings because you won't have the appropriate stability. Yeah. You wouldn't then be able to then go into a vertical push like a dip or a ring dip, which then progresses into a ring muscle up. Like, do you know what I mean? So it has consequences, not from just, you know, cutting corners and just kind of making it easy for yourself, but also it stunts your progression in fitness. I truly believe that, like, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why we always revisit your basics. So yeah,
I think
it's one that's really really important to me, is just making sure you don't cut that corner.
I think the thing I take away from it is there's loads of different shortcuts. There's loads of easy routes out of anything. So be it you've got to do your press ups and you can kind of you know, do some half reps, tick a box and feel good about yourself, or you can blame things that are supposedly out of your control, but they tend to just be shortcuts. They tend to be like the easy way out. It's really easy to go, there's not enough time in my day, as opposed to, I need to wake up an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Little things like that. And getting out of your comfort zone to free up your schedule to do the things that you need to do, or to go, it'd be easier to miss this workout, it'd be easier to sandbag this workout, it'd be easier to do these press-ups really crap. No, I'm not going to do it. Like holding yourself accountable and actually testing yourself of what you are actually capable of, rather than what you think you're.
I say it so often, if we use that same example as the press up, I say it to people so many times, like if we wrote up another board or we programmed that you've got to do 5 press ups in a session, or 10 press ups or 15, whatever it's going to be, I'd much rather you do one really good one than 10 shit ones.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I'd much rather that all day, every day. Like, because that's a true reflection of where you're at.
Yeah, rather than chasing the number.
That's it. Yeah. Like numbers, like I had a conversation with one of my clients today actually, like numbers are a great measure of progress. But, you know, it doesn't matter what the number is if you're performing the movement in a poor position.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter, like you could do 10, 20, 30, but are they...
So it's a really interesting point.
Are they proper movement? Like the reps, in essence, like, you know, it's increased time under tension. We need time under tension for the musculature to adapt to that stimulus. At the same time, we want it to adapt to the fullest range of motion. I'd much rather it.
It's knowing the purpose behind it, isn't it? Because your aim is not to do 10 press-ups. That's not why press-ups are in your program, so you can do 10.
No.
Unless your goal is like very specific to that, and then you want them to be 10 good press-ups. But like, it's to stimulate some sort of response from your pushing muscles, right? So the 10 isn't necessarily the thing that does that. It's the press-up itself. You know, it's like focusing on that exercise as opposed to this number that's, you know, it's there and it's relevant.
It's going back down to focus on the process rather than the outcome. Don't focus on the reps, focus on the way you perform the skill or the movement or the program itself or your recovery away from the gym, or like focus on the process, not on the outcome.
Yeah.
It comes down to every single thing we do. I had the same conversation earlier, it literally was earlier this morning, we're talking about the deadlift, like seeing a client of mine doing a deadlift, like did deadlift triples, but literally like first one was probably a clean rep, second and third one, he was losing postural control over the bar completely. Said to him, I was like, what's the benefit? Why are you doing deadlifts? Why are deadlifts in your program? Are you going to go and compete in a powerlifting comp? And he's like, no. It's like, okay, cool. So where's the merit in you doing deadlifts that are you in a position where you've lost control in your spine? And he's like, I wanted to put more weight in the bar. I was like, it's progression for progression's sake.
With the ladies.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's again getting people to think a little bit more critically about it. It's like, and also progression doesn't always come in the form of numbers increasing. And I think also, like people always think when they talk about numbers, they expect an increase in their numbers or the amount of weight shifted or reps completed week on week. It doesn't. It's not linear progression. It doesn't always do this. Otherwise, you're breaking the world record in a matter of months. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work that way. And sometimes you could settle for like, I videoed my rep. I did the same weight this week compared to last week, and I was actually moving better. I focused on the way that I moved the weight as opposed to the weight itself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's an interesting point. Yeah, I mean,
kind of migrate away from that a little.
We're talking about testing
in terms
yourself.
Of testing yourself and cutting corners, like
it's huge. No, I think it's hugely relevant. And you know, to test yourself to get the best test results, you've got to get rid of that ego. You've got to have a bit of humility about you, and that's going to get you the best results of where you're actually at, which goes into the next bit.
So I just think the other thing as well you were saying about in terms of testing, like the fundamental thing about. If you're doing a test, if you're testing on any given movement, is the conditions are the same every single time.
Yeah.
So like, if you get consistency with technique, then that means that when you do one test at the start of your journey and then another test later on, you need to make sure that the movement that's performed is exactly the same or it's in the same conditions.
As much
that's the thing they nail into when you're doing any kind of like sports science research is making sure that, you know,
any research.
In any, but one of the biggest thing that they drilled into us is just making sure that the constants
you control
they're
the variables.
Always the same. There's no variability there in the test. So
but that goes nicely into the next bit, which is test yourself to see where you stand. And essentially, you know, the people test themselves in the gym every day. You know, like you've got to find out where you are in relation to your goal. And one of the biggest tests people do is stepping on the scales. You know, if you want to lose weight, essentially stepping on the scales is your test. And like you say, you want to keep the conditions the same. So same time of day, you want to, it's no use weighing yourself after drinking a litre of water and going,
doing it at 7 a.m. one week and then doing it at 5 o'clock the next week.
Put on a kilo. It's like, you just drank a litre of water. Like, of course, you've got that water's in you now.
Really?
And also, I think there's a thing of testing too much, certainly when it comes to stepping on the scales.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one metric that people, again, focusing on the outcome a little bit too much, so focusing on that test a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I always believe in having like a series of tests. So you have your outcome tests, which in effect are going to be more about, in effect, fundamentally what your goal is. Like, if you want to have a change in body composition, a lot of people will know that just taking weight on the scales is only one measure you could do.
Yeah.
Which not 9 times out of 10 is one measure that could be accurate to a certain degree. You're measuring your entire body mass, but you're not actually looking at the composition of your body. And the biggest thing that I think, particularly for most people, where their goal is to lose fat fundamentally or look better naked, whatever we want to frame it, the best way to do it is take a visual check of
Picture.
the way you look, and do that in the same place, wearing similar attire, and making sure that you can actually see the measurables.
You just go nudie, don't you?
No, to be fair, I don't. You never know.
What are all those pictures on your phone then of just you?
Why are they so focused?
Yeah.
I can't ever see your face.
I can't tell you body fat percentage from that. But the same goes for doing a 1 rep max test. It's cool lifting the heaviest weight you can. It's fun. But it's not training. It's not going to get you stronger. So you can go in every day, do your 1 rep max. I've been there.
You do heavy singles.
Or benching every day. It's like you can easily increase. You're testing so much to the point where you're not actually getting it done. You're just testing.
As a general rule as well, what you find a lot of the time when people do a maximal test for a single is they're inevitably not going to be their cleanest reps. So if you're every time coming in, if you lose the deadlift as an example, you're maximal testing every time you're slightly losing position, or you look like you're going to snap your spine or it's going to fall out your ass or something. That in effect is you repeating that mechanics of the skill over and over,
laying
and over
it in,
again.
patterning it.
Your body's like, this is the way that I deadlift. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to. That is going to be your new neutral spine position. You're going to be walking around like this. You know what I mean?
It's the same can be said for the scales. If you're focusing on stepping on the scales all the time, you're not actually focusing on the things that are going to bring it down. The act of stepping on a scale does not lose you weight. If
see when people jump on the scales, they'll slip their shoes off first. But actually, now I'm wearing a jacket. Right, I'm going to take my shirt off. Take away. My watch is a bit heavy. Take that off. That's the thing. But you're trying to just focus so much on that number. You do anything you can at that given time to try and cut the corners to make the numbers come down. Well, actually, you're hiding the fact that over the weekend you ate shit. You're out, you're pissed. You're not recovering. You didn't get your training in last week. It's like you might have a heavy watch on, but it's telling you the truth.
So it's
not lying.
It is that. It comes back to that. The importance to test yourself, but we're also kind of saying don't test too much. Everything, I guess, every podcast we've done, everything we've said, there's a balance, right? You can go too much into it or back or not enough. You can be ultra aggressive with your training, go in and just want to smash it, but get injured. So you've got to know when to dial it back. You can test yourself, but test yourself to the point where you go insane. There's all these little things that we've got to kind of balance, and it's going to be different for different people, right? Sorry, we've got a green thing. Does that mean someone's messaged in? James Taylor is watching.
We've got one person. JT.
James the Steak Taylor. Called so because he looks exactly like a beefsteak. So he's come in at the right time. So I think that wraps testing yourself up quite nicely. Let's go into Q&A. First kind of Q&A that we've done. I kind of compiled all these really quickly off the Instagram, the Facebook, so I don't have names attached to them. I don't know who a couple of them are from. So sorry if I don't mention who you are, but thank you very much for everyone that commented in. Keep them coming as well. I want to make
us some fuel for
a bit of a regular feature. We've got 7 minutes left on the clock.
Sweet.
Haven't we? So let's go for it. Are you excited for the CrossFit Open? No.
Well, you're not CrossFit.
No, I don't do CrossFit, so not really. But Scott, maybe give some people some insight as to what the CrossFit Open actually is.
So the CrossFit Open is basically, like, the best way of describing it is it's like an annual fitness test.
Okay.
For the entire...
Appropriate.
Yeah, so for the entire CrossFit community. So it happens every year, so once a year, and it's held over 5 weeks. So over 5 weeks, you'll have 5 workouts to complete once a week.
Sorry, 5 workouts each week?
No, you have a workout a week for 5 weeks.
Okay.
And it allows you to basically see how you rank up against other people in your own country, in your own continent, around the world, and based on the same workout. It allows you, a lot of the time they do repeats of workouts from previous years, so it allows you to go and get a metric of how you've improved year on year.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's wicked, and I think, you know, when I first got into CrossFit, it was a massive thing in terms of just being able to build the community. Like it's huge, and I think over a certain amount of time, it kind of lost its way a little bit. Where the CrossFit Games got more sponsorship, it's become more of a money maker. It's no longer, it hasn't been as much to support affiliates.
Okay.
You know, it's, you know, if I've got a salt bike, want to sponsor a workout, guess what? They're going to want salt bikes in their workout.
Yeah.
19.2, whatever it's going to be. It kind of like screws small box owners or people that are doing the opening in their garage that might not have a salt bike accessible to them.
So when it started, was it more body weight stuff?
First workout was like 7 minutes of burpees.
Right, okay.
So you've got, literally you need your body and a target 6 inches above your reach.
Right.
How many burpees can do in 7 minutes? Go.
Could you argue that it helps maybe not smaller boxes, but helps boxes because people want to take part in it? They might join so that they can use this equipment.
Potentially, I'm not sure if the CrossFit Open is, I suppose, open to the masses. It's definitely something that's more catered towards those that already exist in the community. Does that make sense? Like, you're part of a CrossFit box. Here's an extra bit of value of what we do every single year, as opposed to it being like, hey, you do fitness in a normal gym, why don't you come over to your local box and start doing a fitness test? Like, it's not sold that way.
Are you excited about it then? Are you?
This is the first year I'm more excited about it from a coaching perspective rather than as an athlete. I think more so because I'm not in great shape. So for me to be doing the Open, it would definitely give me a true idea of where I'm at.
So you are going to do it?
I always participate.
Right.
I always participate in as many workouts as I can, depending on whether I'm vaulting or if I've got training days. Like, for example, like this weekend I've got a weightlifting course. So I'm away Saturday, Sunday. So depending on what the workout is, I'll try and see if I can fit it in. But yeah, I've got like one of my clients, like he's one of the teen athletes, he's doing really well, and his goal for the last year is to get to the age group qualifiers. So they basically do the Open as normal, and then they take the top percentage of their age group in the world, and then they do a further 3 workouts.
Awesome.
And then they take a proportion of those people and they go to the games. So for him last year, he narrowly missed out, and his goal for the year is to stay in the same age group, but the top end of the age group to try and qualify. So our work for the last year is in effect come to this point. So we're peaking down for these next 5 weeks, which is really exciting. You know, you've seen Joe training every week, and I think a lot of people have commented on how he's progressed. So it'd be quite good to see, like, when we get to the main thing, all right, actually, how has your fitness progressed over the last 12 months? So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, look, it
is an exciting time. It is an exciting time, definitely. But yeah, I do enjoy throwing down with the members as well. It's an opportunity, like the banter flows, everyone wants to kind of beat the coaches, and also the coaches don't want to get beaten by members, me particularly. So
you don't want to get beaten by anyone, yeah.
No, but I definitely feel my competitiveness definitely come out. I always say I'm going to do one and done, but I always find myself repeating if someone's beating me in a score. It's whether I can recover appropriately in 4 days to make that happen.
And have a better crack at it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's right to crack through them.
2 minutes. Is Francis human?
Well, yeah, you saw him workout of the week this week. He got beaten by his own workout, didn't he?
This is from Aisha. So Coach Francis that works here is a bit of a machine, you know.
He's an absolute hero, yeah.
He's the guy that is in insane shape but trains multiple times a day, just loves the...
He's a workhorse, isn't he? But he does it because he absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely very much an addict when it comes to fizz.
So, is he human? Yeah. And as Scott says, if you watch Workout of the Week,
I've torn him right down straight away.
You see him all for his human imperfections. Yeah, he was gutted about that.
Has he repeated it yet?
He's not repeated it yet, but he's going to. So the workout is a press up and then a mountain climber on each side, 2 reps, and then on the minute, every minute you add 2 reps. So it's like minute 1 is 2 reps, minute 2, 4, 6, and so on. And obviously that minute you get less time to complete the work. And his goal was to do 8 minutes, so finish on 16. He got 14 on that last round. He was. Yeah.
2 reps short.
I mean, you watch the video, you can see the sadness in his eyes. You know,
maybe you shouldn't train so much, so exactly what we're trying to finish his own workout.
yeah.
Just
maybe,
saying.
yeah. So
Just saying.
I was in question whether he was like a bit robot, but when I saw him crying in the toilets after, I was like,
mate, you can only have admiration for the guy, really, because again, it's maybe not on the same lines, but the way that people viewed Rich Froning and the fact that he trains like 5, 6, 7 workouts in a day. Everyone's like, how'd you do that? It's like he's just done it for so long. He's adapted to it. If you tried to do a day in the life of Pedro or Francis, you die. You would my intensity would absolutely nosedive, where his is just like. So I'll be good up here, workout 1, and it'll be like, where's Scotty gone? Didn't survive lunchtime. He's gone home for a nap.
It's just like he died.
Yeah.
Came in, did
or
a couple of workouts,
died. Just body's just.
Or you'd be doing kind of what we said earlier, and you'd be sandbagging the workout and just doing it at such a low intensity.
I'll be doing it just to say that I've done the same workouts as him, so I wouldn't be competing against him. I'd be like, all right, you do your thing. I'm just going to survive in the corner.
That's it. I think in the interest of time, that's not a bad place to wrap it up.
Let's do one more.
Have you got time?
Yeah, man. Let's do one more.
How much training is too much training?
It's appropriate training volume.
Francis's level of training.
No, it's appropriate training volume that you can recover from. So too much is if you feel like you're not unable to recover from the amount that you were training, then it is too much.
Yeah. When you're no longer moving towards your goal.
Yeah. If you're not progressing, so if you're on making progress, and you are in effect finding yourself sandbagging workouts, doing workouts for the sake of doing them. I always say to people, it's not the time you spend training, it's the training you fit in your time. That's very much so, and it's making sure that you're better off training for an hour and yielding as much intensity from that training than training for 2 hours and spreading over 2 hours what you can get done in an hour. Does that make sense?
I mean, and it's lots of factors, all because you're not progressing to your goal, or all because you're not recovering. It's not always necessarily down to you not training too much. You might not be eating enough, you might not be sleeping enough. There's a lot of factors, but if you keep a logbook, which you should, one of the first indicators of training too much is your numbers aren't going where you want them to go.
Or you feel lethargic, you feel like you're not performing where you once did. You want to feel like you're able to sustain that effort.
Yeah, if you're going into workouts and you're both physically and mentally fatigued all the time, you feel like you're operating at kind of less than 70%, you're probably not recovering. You could probably do the rest day. I mean, I heard quite an interesting principle recently that was like, when should you take a rest day? And it's like, when you feel like you need a rest day, you train anyway and then you rest the next day.
That's a good way of thinking about it.
It's quite a good like mental way of approaching it.
I suppose imagine if you feel like you don't want to train, you then train anyway and you do a bit of a shoddy workout. That kind of proves to you, I need a recovery. It kind of backs up the way that you feel.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might feel like you're not really feeling your session, but you train anyway and you have an absolute flyer. Like you actually get moving, you get a bit of caffeine down you, and you end up like absolutely smashing a session. Would you still say have a recovery day after that?
No, I mean then you take the next day.
You take the next day and be like, all right, okay. So until you start to feel like your training is, oh my god.
And it's always a bit of a time thing. The thing I always find is, if you've got, say, tomorrow, I know I'm not going to train because I'm in the car all day. I'm driving to Scotland and I'm going to camp and do all this, whatever. I'm not going to train that day. I don't know why I thought of camping.
I was thinking, is this a true story?
That's a horrible holiday. But if you know for a fact you're not going to train that day, and you might feel like you need a rest today, just do it anyway, because you know you're going to have that rest the next day regardless.
Yeah.
So you may as well have a crack at it. I do that quite a lot, and just kind of looking at your week in advance. But it's very, there's no kind of set way. You don't know until you know, until you've gone into that.
I think that's the whole thing that is sometimes often a problem when when I program now, a lot of my programming is a lot more fluid, so I don't structure certain days of training. Like there's a certain amount of training sessions to get through a week, but you then work those sessions within your week and how you feel, how your time is allowing you to train at what points.
That's the best way.
Rather than it being like I train Monday through Friday, take weekends off. Like sometimes it might be that way if you have kids or you want to have your weekends free. You need to try and maximise your training in the working week, but definitely try and program a little bit more fluid. So these are the sessions. This is the stuff you need to get done. I advise that you have this amount of time in between sessions to allow appropriate recovery.
And you want to train at the highest frequency you can. You know, that's the thing
that allows you to recover.
Yeah, if you have a set day,
it's a balancing act, definitely.
And if you have a set day for recovery before the week's even started, that doesn't make sense to me, because particularly if you've got if you're just calling it a rest day, but there's Wednesday's a rest day when you would actually have the time to train. If you feel great on Wednesday, train. Like what's wrong with you? That doesn't make sense. So it's a complex question, but logbook never lies. So refer to that. Scott, I think we'll have to call it there. You've got work to do, mate.
We're getting ready for classes.
Nice. I'm going to train. So thank you very much for listening to the podcast. Cheers, Scotty.
See you later, boys and girls.